Hello and welcome to Zelda Speedruns. Today we show you another match of the A Link to the Past Randomizer AD Keys Tournament 2021. This is round 2 between Matt and TwoCPlus. And commentators for this match will be Clearmouse and Will WC. Say hello.
Well, hello.
Hello.
Yes, how's it going, Will?
Doing good.
Yeah, I'm doing well. Yeah, it's fresh off of the daylight savings time here in the United States. So hopefully, everyone here is well rested despite us losing a whole hour. But we've the good news is that like Matt and 2C are totally on top of things. They're here ready to go on time for game 2 of AD Keys.
Indeed.
Nothing like waking up for this, right?
Exactly. It's a nice chilly morning here, so I got my comfy pajama pants and my comfy socks on.
Nice.
I'm excited for this one. This is race number 2 of the best of 3 series between these two runners here in the round of 16. Yesterday in the race 1, Matt got the win by about 2 minutes. It was a very interesting race. We'll probably touch on it at some point as we get going here. But today, 2C looking to stay alive and force a game 3 here in the round of 16. Matt looking to put it away and advance to the quarterfinal stage of the bracket here.
Yeah, and actually, so what? This is Sunday, so this is actually like I think 1 week officially after the Swiss stage ended, and the admins and organizers, were nice enough to kind of give people like a 1 week break, officially not starting first round of basically a bracket of 32. Until officially, I guess, this week. But you know what? 2C and Matt, overachievers. Not only, of course, in rando, also in scheduling. They're already in the round of 16, defeated their first round opponents, and here they are, already facing off in game 2 of their best of 3 series.
Yeah. Both of them taking advantage of the boot start that they agreed upon, and are going to start at Sanctuary here and head into Kakariko that way.
Yeah. Oh, yes. And of course, one of the best options in this case, both 2C and Will, looks like it's 2C and Will, 2C and Matt, both look like they actually agree. You also might have agreed on this, by the way, for starting boots. That is actually one of the options. In this case, you get to start out with. So of course, AD keys means all dungeons, keys, sanity. We are going to be clearing everything. So we're definitely in it for the long haul. And, what's going to make these a little bit more, enjoyable, a little bit more fun, a little bit faster. Than, of course, with those really nice boots.
Yeah, it certainly made yesterday's seed a quick one. Both runners clocking in at about 140, in Matt's case a little bit under that. Yeah, very, very fast seed for, very fast time for the clear. We get a Moon Pearl here in the Lost Woods. Matt deciding to skip the check for the information there, at least for now, at the Lumberjack. We'll see if he chooses to go back up there or if he puts it off until later.
Yeah, this is actually a good observation. So I want to say that also Matt skipped the Lumberjack check against 2C, in game 1 as well. Not sure if it's going to be like a, I guess like more or less like a standard, type of thing. One, difference I think that what we kind of observed, at least from my perspective for game 1 between Matt and 2C, was that Matt tends to be a little bit more thorough, not necessarily like super thorough in his checks, but certainly a bit more conservative. I think when it comes to basically deciding what he wants to try and check versus not. 2C definitely seems to be a bit more strategic in which checks he decides to kind of invest his time in. So certainly that could be kind of a deciding factor in this race as well.
Right. You certainly see some people say that, AD keys is the, you have to 100% full clear the game kind of rando mode, but you can certainly get away with some strategic skipping, and yesterday it almost worked out in 2C's favor. The race kind of ended up swinging in a way off of the information that Matt was able to glean from a pedestal check. When he saw that there was a pod small key on the pedestal. And that gave him the information that the one thing that he needed for go mode, which was a big key to Pendant Desert Palace, that gave him the information that by logic, that big key could not be behind Ganon's tower. Whereas 2C did not have that information and full cleared Ganon's tower looking for that same big key.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think we were actually, well, Will and I were actually talking a little bit about this earlier. But typically, we always want to be like, oh, like what's on pen, type of thing. This case, it actually, that pedestal knowledge was incredibly useful. Gave Matt quite the advantage in the end game as well. So speaking of, all these things, so they've been making their way to Kakariko. They've actually got a ton of things, including looks like actually the first of our 2 Castle Tower small keys. Another thing actually that potentially it did influence the game 1's race, just because when Matt was over in Skull Woods, he visited Castle Tower early, had the mirror, was able to check pedestal knowledge. 2C unfortunately put that off a little bit, so was not able to check it at a convenient time in this case.
Yeah, that's true. That mirror location definitely influenced the early part of the routing there yesterday. We also see the lamp there in the chicken hut, so who knows what we're looking at here, but it does start to feel like we're getting a couple of those pieces of maybe Castle Tower is on the logical path here, even into the Dark World, with the early Castle Tower key and the lamp showing up here.
Yeah, we always, joke about, well, maybe that it's not like too much of a joke because it seems to happen more often than not. It's like, where is that second Castle Tower small key for Go mode, right? It is certainly not unheard of that we actually get both Castle Tower keys early, and Aghanim is actually our Dark World access. It does happen, surprisingly, in 80 keys.
It does happen, and it's often, a great relief that you're not going to be, in an hour and a half from now, still searching for that second Castle Tower key for Go mode.
Yeah.
So, a lot of times if you're playing an open or standard seed, you kind of you cringe a little bit at seeing that early AGA play be required. In 80 keys, you are never going to be really all that upset if you get your AGA access at 10 or 15 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's 100% true. I would say that, so technically, we are still another, of course, Castle Tower small key away. We will also probably need some sort of entry into Castle Tower, like cape, at least one sword. That would be great. Not only, of course, for among other things, they can dash. Hey, speaking of a sword,
hey, did someone say sword?
How fortunate timing! Yeah, sword in at basically the 5-minute and 30 mark. Early sword means that, of course, we get to take full advantage of this boost. Don't have to ended up stopping or anything. We also saw that Matt kind of kindly demonstrated for us that without the sword, you can't even dash through bushes because he had a little small bonk there. But but they don't have to worry about that anymore. And of course, with a permanent weapon, right? They don't have to worry about like resources as much in order to take down enemies, hitting switches.
Oh boy! Oh boy!
All right. Well then, so we're looking for a second sword. At this point, maybe cape. Yeah. We might be seeing 4-heart AGA almost immediately from these runners.
Yeah. We do have a slight divergence here. 2C is going to go over and get Agina done and check Desert Ledge here, whereas Matt has decided to go directly on the South Shore route and head over to Mini Moldorm Cave, get a fire rod there.
Okay, alright, so
not any
fire rod's good.
locations from that yet, but it will be nice for making a potential Castle Tower climb easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so, of course, we are still on Fighter Sword. We do need another piece of the puzzle to actually get in. Master Sword certainly make things a little bit nicer, but, well, why spend, 8 slashes or whatever it is against all those ball and chain guards when you could just fire at them with one-shots? A lot faster, a lot safer.
2C is going to follow along here, it looks like, on the eastern South Shore route, as Matt is opening up Ice Rod Cave.
Yeah, also want to take this opportunity actually to point out our trackers today, Iker and Philly, doing, we've been pretty much just kind of like talking, for the first, couple minutes. They have been finding so much stuff. You can see all the trackers lit up with all the up-to-date information. Thank you so much.
Those early minutes of any sort of key sanity seed especially, always a chaotic time for the trackers. So we definitely appreciate their efforts today, and we got 2 of the best. Let's be
oh
honest,
yeah,
so.
no, that's definitely true. Actually, I think, and this is also maybe something I'm missing. I do see on the trackers we also did pick up a big key to Skull Woods. Also could be potentially interesting. These type of fetch quest big keys. Big key to Skull Woods, big key to Ice Palace, maybe a big key to Hera. These are always kind of like the Swamp Palace is another one, right? You always kind of want to see those like sooner rather than later if they're going to show up because
you don't want to play it. You don't want to play the gotcha game later on where you're like, do I spend 2 minutes going back for this one check? So. Yep. Matt has taken the water walk here. He went up and checked the 2 items at Waterfall Cave and is now gonna probably wrap up his route here at Hobo.
Yeah.
And Wake Medallion.
Okay. Yeah. So that's something interesting. We are gonna need, of course, at least 1 medallion today. We don't know anything for Maya or Turtle. They could be, they could be quick. They could be different. But certainly we know because we have to defeat all of the dungeons, we're gonna have to enter both of those dungeons.
And now this is interesting. Matt is making the play up here to Hyrule Castle and Uncle a little earlier than I expected. I thought he might try and check like Sahasrara or some other get some other checks out of the way here, looking for that cape or second sword. Instead, we get an ice rod.
Ice rod. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. So so talk about potentially early Aga plays. Is an early Turtle Rock play. As well in the cards. We certainly have the elusive ice rod in both Castle Tower Small Keys. Something unconventional, I think, for most AD keys. But of course, we are missing a bunch of Turtle Rock Small Keys and the big key as well. But but we were just talking about that for Castle Tower, and lo and behold, both of the keys showed up. So
yeah, we've gotten 3 of our ice rods out of the way already in this seed.
Alright, so it looks like, so no money. I was gonna say, the early game has a lot of, actually, really nice luxury items. We got both rods already. We got, the lamp, we've got a sword, we got a pearl, some, pretty nice keys as well. But, in terms of, health, safety, money, we're a little bit shorter. Certainly very understandable that they probably don't want to try and take the time to kind of go over to the Zora area. We're certainly, well, one is non-logic. We don't actually have flippers or gloves or anything like that, but also we are so far away from that 500 rupee mark.
And I do want to point out that we saw the Swamp Small Key there in the map chest of Hyrule Castle, so that's another gating item that we've gotten out of the way already in terms of small keys.
Oh yeah. Alright, well, looks like, never mind. Zora now is in Logic. We have, not only that, we also have Sick Kid in Logic, 2C visiting the back of Sahasrara's closet, finding
I imagine
a
he's
bottle.
gonna go right to the back of Escape here with that glove and get the 3 items there as well.
Alright, yes. So this is actually gonna be pretty convenient, at least from our perspective. Matt is finishing up the front of Escape, whereas 2C is going to give us the back of Escape check as well.
Also, we did see Matt kind of test out the stun prize there with the boomerang, and it is just a green rupee today, so no real value from that.
Okay,
there's that Master Sword.
Yep, we do have indeed that is our full, Castle Tower entry. We do have the Master Sword. Probably not the, best set of equipment, I guess, to tackle on Castle Tower. However, we do, it's a Master Sword and boots, even on 5 bars, it's still better than, Fighter Sword and cape, right?
Yeah, and these 2 runners are both top tier.
Yeah, sure.
For sure they can handle a effectively NMG-esque Castle Tower climb without any major issues. Not only, so Matt, very accomplished random runner, in his own right, won SGL 2021 last year, basically a harder item pool setting, casual boots, also, 125 NMG runner, so I'm sure he's more than accustomed to it, but of course, from his perspective, though, he still needs to get that Master Sword, whereas I think this is actually going to work out a little bit nicer for 2C's nice tree pull, finally get some money to our name, but, because, 2C ended up going to Saha's hut first, which is exactly what Matt's doing now. He has the Master Sword, so he's going to be able to save himself a one trip over back to the castle. Right. It's still going to be a little bit of a wash there because 2C's going to have to take an extra death warp there, but it does save the 3 or so screen transitions running over from starting at Link's house again and getting back over there to go climb Castle Tower. So we'll work out a little bit for him here in this case.
Yeah. And of course, this is best of 3 series. Matt, as we did I think mention earlier, is up 1-0. So I think every little time advantage, especially rooting for 2C, would certainly be very helpful to him in trying to force a game 3 and keep himself alive in the series.
Yeah, I mean, if you're 2C here, you feel like you played this kind of by the book to this point anyway, but maybe the Agina check is the only thing that feels slightly bad at this point. But overall, this is, you're not going to be seeing massive swings, but it is a little bit of an early advantage from what we can seeing for both runners here.
Yeah, and of course, having, starting blues does make, like, the overworld travel, just a little bit less painful. Also, I guess a little less, just, like, tempered, in the sense that, well, as you mentioned, going to Agina is really, like, it's never a pleasant experience. Of course, the flute can make things a little bit easier, a little bit nicer, a little bit faster. Barring that, at least we could run over there, as opposed to, walking over there, slogging, and then, just finding out it's like, oh, I did all this
that long walk through the desert never feels good without boots. So yeah, definitely.
All right, so yeah, but it looks like though, so even though Matt is making a second return trip, basically, well, he is listening to the seed, right? 2 Castle Tower keys, Master Sword, Lamp. Well, even a fire rod with some extra magic shots to boot. He's good to go. We do see that him basically getting in here just slightly over 2C because just as we just mentioned, 2C decided to be a little bit more cautious, I think, early game, making it Agina's check. So that's pretty much the only difference between these 2 runners.
Yeah, and this seed is, of course, screaming Aga, based off of the keys and the lamp and everything like that. But also, again, this is AD keys. You're going to have to do this at some point.
That's right.
There's really not a lot of disadvantage to doing it now. Going ahead, you already have a Moon Pearl. You can get in, at least do a little bit of the Dark World. You can get Catfish, Pyramid Ledge, maybe a dip into Pod checked. But more than that, just you feel like there's going to be something here in maybe these 2 items, something on Pyramid that seed is really pointing you towards. Not surprised to see both runners here very early.
Yeah, no, and of course, I would say maybe one of the major concerns for runners potentially is it's like, well, I'm not really comfortable with my execution on this NMG-esque type of level in terms of equipment. But again, right, like 2C, Matt, super accomplished rando runners, right? So it should be certainly of no issue. And so 80 keys, we have to do everything just like you said. There's not going to be like any gambling. It's like, oh, I don't know if Aga's necessarily required for Dark World. Do I need to do this? Is this going to be a waste of 5 minutes over my opponent? You have to do this. Definitely. So may as well just get it out of the way, especially if we can do it rather quickly.
You can visually see Matt's experience with the NMG practice here. Even doing the little pause buffer strats there to read the RNG and in the last guard room there. So, you can tell that he was perfectly comfortable doing a 6 heart CT climb with this equipment loadout.
Yeah. 2C though, actually both excellent execution for both our runners so far. 2C is really just hot on Matt's heels. And of course, unlike an NMG race, as Matt is entering Aghanim 1, the blue ball numbers are seeded. Unlike some NMG races that certainly have kind of swung things in maybe, like one racer's favor when one racer gets like 3 blue balls, another one gets 11. Not gonna happen here today. We're just gonna go through the same motions for both the runners.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, you did mention earlier, and a very nice observation, we did, of course, ended up picking up the Moon Pearl earlier from the mushroom spot in Lost Woods. It's not like, after they do Aghanim, right, they're basically kind of just stuck there. We have the Pearl, we have the Glove, so we certainly still have a couple more options. Maybe we can, find some goodies, like a bow. Eastern Pal's big key, right? Anything that can potentially, make some other the light world checks a bit more appealing.
Right, yeah, I mean, obviously you'd love to just pop up here and find Hammer sitting on Pyramid and then have, the whole world open to you, but you could also pick up, say a hook shot to open up the mountain here. You could pick up...
That's a very, we definitely have different mindsets here, Will. I'm thinking Eastern Palace, like, gung-ho. You're probably thinking of something more pragmatic, right? Like the mountain, or, a hammer to go down to, like, hype gate.
There's a lot of directions the seed could go, and, for all we know, it's just sitting there in Eastern Palace map chest, our progression to open the seed up, and the whole Aga thing was a red herring, but we'll find out here soon.
Ooh, alright. Yeah,
Small key to desert is nice, but we can't get in there just yet without a book or mitts plus mirror plus flute, so...
I often wonder, like, what's the more likely, Desert Palace entry, for these types of seeds? Is it actually, like, the one book item, or is it, flute plus, mitts plus, mirror? I still don't actually know the answer. That was a nice underdash here from the Ropus on Matt's side. You could tell he's gone to Catfish before. But I'm certainly kind of hoping that we're gonna find the flute plus mirror plus mitts combination, just because not only one we can kind of backdoor, but also two that gives us like all three of those required items, a lot of accessibility. But you're especially for rando seeds, you're just gonna take what the game gives you.
It is funny that you mentioned the familiarity with the route to Catfish here, given the role that played in race number 1 between these two runners, where that Gomo Desert Palace Big Key we referenced earlier was at Catfish, and
that is true.
It kind of, even though the whole it obviously wasn't the sole decider, but it did kind of at the end come down to, is 2C, after he completed Ganon's Tower, is he going to go towards Catfish and do that, or is he going to go left and go do Graveyard Ledge? And unfortunately for him, Graveyard Ledge was the choice yesterday, which took him in the opposite direction of his go mode in the race that he lost by a little bit less than 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, but I mean, it was certainly very understandable. 2C just had basically kind of like a little bit, lack of knowledge, and of course, Catfish is a very isolated shot for him, right? So he's certainly going to go for density.
Sure. Matt now getting his lumberjack check-in by blind pulling those 3 bombs there.
Yes.
He is going to be able to route that kind of nicely here into the mountain climb and getting the save and quit point from the old man.
Yeah, so on observation on 2C's side, so on his way to Catfish, he actually looked like he bought a potion, gave up one of his bees, regular bees from the bottle. I guess I'm curious to see if this is going to be a run down to pod after this. Matt decided to go over to basically save and quit and try out some of the more light world stuff. 2C, never mind. He just bought a potion, and he just wanted a potion, maybe.
Well, he also, I think running from... I think this is actually the faster way to get back
okay, gotcha, cool.
Yeah, and we see our first Turtle Rock small key there from the old man. Or actually, I guess that may have been our second one, because 2C has one as well.
Yeah, it looks like actually, according to Iker, our tracker from Matt, there are indeed 2 Turtle Rock small keys. This is why our trackers are also keeping track of literally everything.
But yeah, we are gonna see 2C head over here to pod. We see a heart container on top of Spectacle Rock, and what we have inside, it is a heart piece.
Yeah, so not going to be worth Matt's time in order to get something like this. They are, of course, on a little bit lower health, but, again, I think these guys are, extremely capable, very confident in their execution abilities. Of course, not only that, they do have a fighter shield to, of course, ward off all of the, incoming spears, so that's something.
That is very
true.
It
looks like though Matt
going to be making a similar play here. It looks like it.
He also gave up his bee, going to an alternate potion shop. Probably in this case is going to go over to the Dark World and do the same thing.
But yeah, both guys going to take their 1 pod small keys that they've gotten so far. That puts 3 items into logic for these 2 runners here. The potion gets them the 2 bow-locked items on right side. So, a total of 5 items available here. You can do a little bit of routing shenanigans if you want to get to the back with 1 key, but not in logic. I think it's unlikely that we'll see 2C do that. In most cases, you're just going to want to open the front door here and go ahead and just get these items cleared out in the front and then come back later.
Yeah, I think that's totally reasonable. And honestly, I think, we just picked up 1 pod key. 1 pod key is somewhat, awkward, as you just mentioned, right? But you know what? That's the one pod key we only need in this seed because they're the myths in pod.
That feels important.
Yeah. So we're one step closer to getting into desert because we just found the Titan Smith. So we just need the mirror and the flutes. Easy.
Yeah. And more importantly, we now have all of the western and southern Dark World open to us now. So, Village of Outcasts, all the checks that we have available in Skull Woods. We can full clear Skull Woods, actually, because we have Fire Rod, a small key, big key, everything there.
That's really very good points. And the equipment, honestly, it's not so bad. Of course, Temper Sword would certainly be very desirable, but Master Sword, I think it looks like they probably have enough money if they really need another potion, in terms of for health and safety reasons. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't think either runner is clamoring to do a 6-heart moth fight, but at the same time, I think both runners are perfectly capable of doing a 6-heart moth fight with Master Sword.
Yeah, no, totally agree there. Yeah, but those myths, of course, are actually give us actual normal Dark World access. Looks like 2C after he is finished up with Pod, going to go probably straight to King's Tomb, and yeah, so we have now exactly one Dark World portal access to us, available to us. In addition to, of course, to the Aghanim portal that we already done. But yeah, this is going to be probably into Skull Woods / Village of Outcast area.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the clear play here.
Yeah, meanwhile, though, Matt decided to try and at least opt to dip into the front of Eastern Palace. Unfortunately, it looks like actually he picked up some money. So we got one more chest in Logic, and then presumably after this, assuming he doesn't pick up a big key or something like that, go head elsewhere.
Yeah, and just a hero map there, so no big advantage there from the early EP dip. But again, this is AD keys, and like you said, with yesterday's race, there were several big swings in that race. So this is not, one of those, you wasted 2 minutes here at 20 minutes into the seed, and now you're out of it. There's going to be there's going to be more swings along the way here for sure.
Yeah. Not only that, of course. So talk about swing things. Tempered Sword, please. Alright, looks like the 2C. Yeah, 2C is going to opt to do Village of Outcast first, potentially. I don't know if he wants to skip Skull Woods entirely. Maybe he's trying to just at least do a cursory glance at the village, see if he can pick up some extra goodies before, going up to Skull Woods. Of course, with those myths, no mirror, unfortunately, means the Smith chain is going to be a little bit more awkward.
Well, obviously, 2C is rattled from yesterday and is waiting until he has mirror and book to go to Skull Woods. So.
Oh, that is actually a very excellent observation.
I do not believe that is accurate, but it is an observation.
Yes, you can. You're certainly not wrong in that. The book and the mirror in this case would have been extremely beneficial for 2C had he had them when he was in Skull Woods.
Of course, he's gonna find both of them here in Village, and then he's gonna get there, and it's just gonna be couch cash on pedestal or something. So,
or it's oh, now you can find Vitreous, and it's great, thanks.
Yeah. I do get an ether there from the front of Thieves Town. Again, we don't have access yet to either of our two medallion entrances for Meyer or TR, but that is now 2 of them that we have located, and just the Bombos outstanding.
Yeah, we were talking about kind of getting, our early ice rods out of the way. Not only, of course, we actually have the actual ice rod, we needed Aghanim for, Dark World access, so no Castle Tower small keys to hunt for. We're also getting our medallion, entry requirements potentially out of the way as well.
So a lot of the big gotcha items, and there's our first bow sitting there in the C-shaped house for 2C-shaped house.
2C-shaped house.
But yeah, there's our bow. So looks like 2C is going to go ahead and head south here. I'm a little surprised that he didn't go, kind of do the back of Skull Woods kind of south play to just kind of more efficiently clear that area out. But if you're going to come back here with Smith, I think this is not an unreasonable play, to be sure.
Yeah. Alright, so it looks like just 20 rupees on dig game. Not too many digs, at least, so we don't have to waste too much more time. But yeah, I mean, it sounds like maybe, you know, because he doesn't have the mirror in order to try and do the Smith chain, he's gonna probably take our good friend, companion, along with, you know, basically all the way probably to Hype Cave, and then come back, and maybe he'll, you know, have some time to basically go north instead.
Right, and meanwhile, while he was doing that, Matt went over to Pod, got his mitts. He's going to be probably doing a similar route here of King's Tomb into the Dark World, and then we'll see what direction he chooses to go. If he chooses to make a similar play here, where he kind of works south and picks up the Smith, or if he just goes directly into Skull Woods.
Yeah, and honestly, you know, like, just in terms of, you know, diversions, hasn't really been too much so far, right? You know, of course, the good thing about the seed is, well, Agnum is required for Dark World access, and it was actually relatively early, so, you know, a lot of very similar routing with the throughout Light World in order to get to Dark World, and really, you know, like, the point of divergence, you know, for 2C to make, you know, his first quote-unquote real decision, right? Should I go to Skull Woods versus, you know, versus Village of Outcasts, really isn't, you know, also, like, that big of a deal as well.
Right. So we did get the information there. Hera and Desert are our two red crystals today. Those are two that usually get made available a little bit earlier in the seed, assuming we find that Desert Palace big key. So that's you know, that's something to kind of keep an eye on. There is that we have a little bit of the two of the we see the Thieves Big there at the very back of Hype Cave, but one thing to kind of keep an eye on is that we do have those two red crystals. There are two that usually make it into Logic a little bit earlier in seeds. So
yeah, all right. Yeah, so yeah, you pointed out, yeah, we did find, you know, the piece on Big Key on, you know, on 2C side. That's certainly gonna be really nice. Gonna get him some access to the back. So no hammer and no small key. I don't know if that would necessarily deter him, you know, immediately from kind of going back in. You know, just because we are gonna have to potentially leave an item behind. But hopefully that hammer or something is just gonna show up.
Right.
Meanwhile,
Yeah, I would not be, given that we've already kind of eliminated, you know, oh, there's a very nice flute there from the Smiths, so.
Yeah, alright, so this is potentially a good lesson for people. You know, mirrorless Smith chain, although it is really not a convenient check to do, this is paid off quite handsomely for 2C, because, you know, he's not only in the Light World, you know, he checked Sick Kid, which Matt did earlier, he got the flute from the Smith, so he could just activate that immediately.
Yeah, so that is going to pay some nice dividends there in terms of routing, especially if Matt does not choose to come back with the Smith here immediately, you know, especially if we don't find the hammer, or I'm sorry, find the mirror.
Yeah, but I mean, but honestly, like from Matt's perspective, though, right? This is oh jeez. Speaking of the mirror, all right. So Matt has found, you know, his own ridiculously nice item here in the front of Skull Woods. So you know, talk about mirrorless Smiths. You know, so Matt is not going to have to, you know, worry about that whatsoever, because he's
that's not going to be a thing that happens.
Yeah.
And boy, if we find the book here in the big key chest of Skull Woods, we're really gonna have some memes here, aren't we?
Oh, dude, yeah. Matt's gonna be like, oh, I definitely made the right decision coming here for Skull Woods. All right, looks like that's just money. Actually, you know, not pretty good for Matt. All things considered, just because he already spent some pretty good cash for buying 2 potions. So you know, this is gonna put him right back over the Zora money thresholds. And I was also going to say...
As chat points out here, we did just find flute, mirror, and mitts all in a span of, you know, just several minutes there to get that desert access that we were joking about earlier.
Yeah, that's actually pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
All right, looks like the big key to big chest in Skull Woods only just has a Ice Palace small key. Certainly not necessarily required, but you know, that first small key to Ice Palace, first small key to Mire, is gonna make your routing, you know, in dungeon traversal a whole heck of a lot nicer.
Yeah. So Matt's gonna go back here. One thing that with Matt, we did mention earlier, you know, kind of the comfort level here. He did pick up a potion. Or I believe, no, 2C picked up a potion, I believe, before coming back here. So, you know, having that extra level of safety here before fighting Mothula will be, you know, potentially come into play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know, honestly, like for Matt to come here, especially, you know, 2C, you know, just following his footsteps, you know, clearing out the rest of Skull Woods. You know, you did mention earlier, Will, you know, like we have the complete ability to clear out Skull Woods. This is a, you know, well, we're doing all dungeons, whether it's a pendant or crystal or not. We know we have to do this, so it's certainly very reasonable for Matt for Matt to come here.
Oh yeah,
you know, but before Village of Outcasts.
Yeah, and you know, getting the mirror here is going to make this play, you know, feel so much better because he's going to be able to just route in Smith Chain with the village here and, you know, get that flute, get it activated all in one kind of fell swoop here. That's going to feel really nice for him. And 2C, of course, getting that knowledge that the mirror was here is going to feel a little bit bad. But again, it's not going to be... I think the most likely scenario for that to be a big swing is if there's something important on Purple Chest. And I think it was pointed out in chat as well, but like 2C is much more likely to skip Purple Chest at this point because he's going to be kind of in his route at the back of Skull Woods here, whereas Matt's going to you know, route down through Village here, pick up Smith, and probably a lot more likely to just complete Smith Chain altogether right now.
Yeah, this is actually good. You know, good observation. You know, just because, you know, because 2C also has his flute activated, he just found that mirror, you know, in the, you know, front of the back of Skull Woods. Very, very easy for basically him to just, you know, well, mirror and flute away. Is that a big key? Okay.
That is
big
a
key
big
on Bumper
key.
Ledge. All right. So, okay, that is potentially something. We, you know, haven't seen the cape yet. Of course, it could be, you know, a logically required big key. You know, for example, like Ice Palace big key, right? We know that we don't necessarily need it, pragmatically speaking, you know, actually to, you know, complete the scene, but still could be something. Or, of course, it could be something that's actually required, right? Eastern Palace big key.
Right.
Like any one of the other many ones that we actually
yeah
need.
Yeah. There's kind of the three classes of big keys. There are the hard required ones. So your Eastern Palace, Pod, GT, etc. There's the soft required ones, which logically you have to have, but practically you don't. So that's like your Ice Palace and your Hera big keys. And then there are the ones that are just one check. Which are,
that are just there.
And Swamp and maybe one or two more that I'm not thinking of. But you kind of got those three different kinds of big keys.
All right, so Matt has kind of finished off his loop in this case from North Dark World, and yes, as I think originally postulated, he is basically going to go kind of straight down. So he's going to pick up his nice goodies, pick up his flute here in 2C-shaped house. You know, we are going to get, as assuming he also does pick up the Smith, he is going to be very handsomely rewarded with that flute.
Yep, and he's also, of course, got that bow. Gonna clear out here. And yeah, we're gonna get our first look at the mire area here. I did not catch the mire medallion, but our tracker did, and looks like it was a Quake.
Our tracker, in this case, Philly's tracking for our 2C. You know, she's doing a phenomenal job. This is why we need trackers.
Yes. There are many reasons we need trackers.
So you're definitely correct. Yeah. So, you know, of course, yeah, with those myths of flute and mirror, as we just ended up saying, over 2C is taking, you know, a no break, going over straight to the mire area. Matt's looks like he's gonna at least clean up, you know, the village of Outcast, the rest of the stuff he's in Thieves Town. With the mirror, it's going to be, of course, slightly nicer, just to go the mirror out, no more death warping. I don't know if that's like super convenient, yeah, in Checkerboard Cave, but you know, it's like a pseudo small key under the doormat. First mire key, of course, is always going to be nice in terms of routing, to save you a couple room transitions, but of course, certainly not required.
Yeah, not required to clear the dungeon. I think there are logical implications to the mire small keys, but you know, in terms of as a runner, you're never going to, you know, unless you do some real shenanigans here, you're not going to need to pick up any mire small keys. That said, that first one, like you said, definitely does make the routing of that dungeon a lot smoother.
Speaking of, all right, so we just picked up a second Meyer small key on the torch. So I do want to say that there's some like logical implications with small keys and like the cutscene chest in Meyer, like the vanilla big key chest. But of course, we also do need technically required all of the small keys for every dungeon in order to complete it, right? The game does assume that well, if you can make a mistake using a small key on a key lock door, you will. So in this case, for example, for Skullwoods, right? We're probably never going to find all three or need to find all three, but game certainly makes them available to you. You know what? That does repel a small key. It's pretty useful, wouldn't you say?
I would say so. I'd say a hammer and a cane are both
okay.
Relatively useful items.
Yeah. So hammer and cane. That so in addition, of course, with the fire rod and the and mitts, we Ice Palace open for anybody. It's still not logically accessible technically, just because you don't have the flippers. But geez, like Ice Palace.
So let's just kind of take stock at this. We're slightly under 38 minutes. In terms of items, for Go mode, we are a hookshot and a flippers away, and potentially a bombos. Obviously, we have a ton of keys to find still, but in terms of just items.
Yeah, no, this is actually a very, very good point. Oh, jeez. We certainly do need the hookshot, and of course, not only get through, logically speaking, Ganon's Tower to cross that Moldorm gap, but of course, Swamp Palace, being all dungeons, we do have to clear it in order to get to the back. And of course, yes, and we do need flippers in order to get into Swamp, but geez, yeah, that is, we definitely got some pretty heavy hitting items, certainly, earlier on versus later in this case.
Yeah, and so we are going to see, and 2C here is here in Meyer, but is just a Meyer or Big Key away from being able to full clear this dungeon as well, so, hopefully, he's hoping to get lucky here and find that in one of the 6 checks he can do.
Yeah, I also want to say that he also did Meyer pretty early in Game 1. Unfortunately, did not have everything that he could in order to clear out. I think he was also missing Meyer Big as well as he came back, but certainly so could pay off for him on this game. Meanwhile, on Matt's side, though, you are also correct in, looks like, though, Matt, of course, having the mirror in this case, has completed the Smith Chain, including the purple chest. Armor is never a bad thing, especially we have the mirror, and it's got a lot of safeties now. Matt's probably pretty confident for the rest of the game. Unfortunately, those iframes just, delayed Matt's back entry into Dark World just ever so slightly.
In a way, that's kind of a mixed news item for 2C, because like we said earlier, that purple chest is one that he's very likely to isolate at this point until a much later point in the seed. So, he'll miss having that blue mail there as a safety, but at the same time, he's happy. If you're rooting for 2C, you're happy not to see something logically required there.
Yeah. And, of course, there is another mail upgrade out there. I do feel, very confident in saying that 2C is more than capable of finishing, this seed on actually this set of equipment in terms of offense. 2C probably, chances are, they'll wouldn't turn down, a blue mail. But certainly not going to be, the end of the world for him.
For sure, yeah. And so, we're going to see... I'm a little surprised 2C came this route. I don't know if he forgot
does
he
he
has
have
the big key?
No. He does not have the big key? Maybe he
say,
wants to save?
With the two Meyer small keys, you can go through...
Yeah.
You can route that a little bit more efficiently, I think. But it's not going to make a huge difference there.
Yeah, meanwhile, though, let's see. Matt is finishing up basically his Dark World loop. So he, presumably, because he's already checked, like the pyramid and other stuff kind of going north, I would assume that this is going to be his end of Dark World route. Maybe he'll, chances are going to follow in 2C's, routing decision and basically go straight to Meyer.
Yeah, I would not... Meyer area is one of the most appealing places in his position, and not a lot of other great options right now for him, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him follow along that. And of course, 2C now having Mirror plus Hammer plus Mitts is going to go up here and be able to
that's right.
clear the mountain effectively.
Yeah, so yeah, that's right. We talked about potentially trying to get some more, mountain access. We were looking for a hookshot, which of course we still are in this case. But in addition, of course, having a flute plus Mitz plus mirror in order to get to the mire area, you know what? That also does open up a really large portion of the mountain as well, both light and dark.
Right. Basically, the only things that he won't be able to do up here, I don't think he is much of a hoverer, so he will not be able to do Hookshot Cave up here. And we don't have a Hera Big Key or the Hookshot to do Hera at this point, beyond just the 2 checks in the bottom floor.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Those are things that we could potentially have to come back for, as well as, of course, Turtle Rock. But, yeah, he's still going to be able to do, a good 15-20 checks up here on the mountain.
Yeah, and I think, assuming 2C does go into Dark Death Mountain, we are going to be able to take a peek at our second, of course, Turtle Rock Medallion entry. Basically, we're going to need to know if we're going to still hunt for another medallion, well, in this case, Bombos, or if what we have is already enough. Alright, Matt, though, finishing up Desert Palace, picking up his, in this case, 1 Mire Smoky off the torch. I don't think he's been to checkerboard yet, but he is going to be, very, very happy, seeing that Desert Palace Smoky pay off with his both hammer and Kana Samaria.
And we had talked about kind of the level of both of these runners there.
Oh, jeez. 2C, you know what? 2C is not going to be sad whatsoever by missing Purple Jets because he doesn't
2C destroyed the point that I was about to make there, which was that he was obviously comfortable enough to skip the heart container that was on top of Spectacle Rock, but then skipping the blue mail in Hera Basement on top of that, I think just really drove home the point, which was to say 2C feels perfectly comfortable on,
this it looks
9,
like
10
it.
heart, and on this current equipment loadout at this point.
Looks like those 2Cs. Yeah, so no hookshot, no big key means that logically or no we can't do any I guess like shenanigans. We're trying to get up to the top of Hera without any I guess additional assistance. 2C is going to try and make his way over to what is probably the bulk of the mountain checks here in Paradox Cave. Could do Dark Death Mountain presumably as well. Okay, big key to pod. That's actually a really good find. Certainly can be pretty elusive as well. Always kind of nice to see that big key.
I think with only having 2 small keys, though, it's going to be a while till we see him get back there. He may want to wait until he finds, say that Eastern big key to combo with that, or at least a couple more small keys, even though, obviously, it does give him enough that he could go kill Helmasaur now.
Yeah. But, right. So like Eastern Palace big key, we talk about potential big key, being masquerading as potential ice rods. Surprisingly, pod big key, Eastern Palace big key, Desert Palace big key. These can be quite elusive just because they don't really block up too much, other than like the boss itself, right? Yeah. So it's kind of nice to be able to see those big keys sooner rather than later. We did find a Flippers up here.
Right.
Are you diving ice well?
No, I'm diving Swamp. I want those 5 items to get as slowly as possible without any guarantee of being able to complete the dungeon. I think that's my play.
All right, that sounds very reasonable. So unrelated, are you racing this out of curiosity?
No, I'm not.
Okay, all right.
There's probably some correlation between that and the fact that I'm not in top 16 and didn't even enter this tournament. But
makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So Matt decided to actually dip into Hera. Did the exact same thing that 2C did. But of course he's got blue mail. I think he probably doesn't even think it's worth his time in order to pick up that red mail at this point.
And we are going to need that Bombos today.
Yeah.
So no TR dip, at least for the moment.
I guess I don't know. I mean, so is that a good thing or a bad thing that you see that Bombos, is it so? Okay, so for example, like if it was Ether or Quake, like we have the Kana Samaria. It looks like according to our trackers, 2C has 2 Turtle Rock small keys. Like, would you be tempted to go in?
Yeah, I think at the very least you'd be tempted to go in and just get the compass chest and the 2 roller room items, if nothing else. It certainly gets a little hairier than that if you're discussing. Do you go all the way to Mimic Cave there without the big key? And then 2C
Yeah,
having a
poor
little bit of
2C, yeah.
a little bit
It's
of
like
a miscalculation with the muscle memory there, picking up the pot
Yeah.
instead of bonking off of it to get to
It's like
the...
I wanted to bonk, not to pick it up. Oh, dude. Okay, well.
All right.
Yeah, so that's 3 Turtle Rock small keys already. Of course, no big key, and of course, in this case, we still do need bombos, as our medallion entry. So I guess like no decision there. But man, like even with 3 small keys, I don't know if that makes things a bit more tempting.
Right. 2C gonna come over here, wrap up his Death Mountain route with Spike Cave. We'll see if he can get anything out here. But yeah, otherwise not a ton on the mountain that opens things up except for those flippers. I think we will see, memeing aside, I think we'll see Ice Palace here as a play very shortly. Once 2C goes and refills his magic.
So is he going back to Hera? Do you think that might change his plans?
I don't know. That's
this is the fun part of rando, right? Is you have a plan laid out for you, looks really very confident, right? Like, oh, this is a great decision, and then suddenly you're kind of thrown for a loop. It's like, well, do I go and do this now?
Yeah, I think 2C is probably going to go do Ice Palace here first, but we'll see what direction he chooses to go, and we'll see if Matt also makes a similar play here.
Yeah, alright, so it looks like those 2C is going to be, of course, first between himself and Matt to go into Ice Palace. And again, so no Ice Palace big key means that potentially we are going to have to leave an item in Ice Palace. And well, provided, of course, that the big key doesn't show up here, of course, in the dungeon itself. 2C, oh man, okay, so I guess he did buy a green potion. I don't know if he necessarily intended to use it right there, but just one.
I think he thought he had a fire rod shot, which I also did left, but I do think the green potion was just we'll use it when we have to kind of thing.
The entry requirement apparently is also one of those times. So I think it should be fine. Coming in basically with a full magic bar. Master Sword Colster isn't probably the most pleasant, but well, he's had to do this final way worse. So
yeah, and like I said earlier, I think he does have a red potion on him as well. So if he gets into any trouble there, he'll be okay with that. There's a small key to Hera, so that does feel slightly better about coming down here, now being able to fully clear that dungeon the next time we go back up the mountain.
Alright, so I guess for what it's worth, Matt did not end up checking Spike Cave after his mountain adventures, so he is actually missing that big key to Hera that 2C actually does have in his possession. So of course, so the hookshot will show up eventually, but if it shows up kind of like sooner on the sooner side, and Matt decides to do Hera, and there's something in the Hera big chest, that could actually be an advantage for 2C.
Right. There's also kind of the potential if Hera is, or if the hookshot is an upstairs Hera. That could also be something that 2C finds a lot sooner than Matt, given that Spike Cave skip.
Yeah, Iker, again, very observant here on Matt's side. So 2C, writing lines, so 2C ended up picking up his key and burner from Meyer, which Matt actually did not do. So he, I think, probably didn't actually want to get through Spike Cave. I'm not even sure if he was able to, given his equipment.
Yeah, so I want to point out that we had a Desert Palace big key there in the map chest. And
okay.
That puts Pyramid Fairy into logic.
Man.
So we've got that.
Yeah, no, this is
both of those red crystals available to us now, because we have both the desert keys. We've got the Hera big key. We got all our access to both dungeons. So.
Yeah, no, this is actually going to be, just more, I guess, like options, or at least like this is kind of nice in the scene that it's trying to give runners basically a little bit more like stronger direction to see. Looks like he was actually going to try and farm the pods. It just barely missed the full magic drop, but unfortunately, kind of disappeared from him.
Learn the super tiles, kids.
Got stuck through. Yeah. Oh man.
Yep.
Got
baited by the drop there. He is going to skip Ice Tea here, which is an interesting play. We talked. You mentioned kind of earlier on in the seed about how in yesterday's race, 2C was a little bit more aggressive with skips. And this is one of those cases, whereas we see Matt coming up here to drop down and presumably do Iced Tea here before bomb jumping back across to the Freezor chest. Mm-hmm. So this is one of those, potential kind of swing moments here. We see something important in Iced Tea.
Yeah, and and it's certainly, and again, I'm not sure if you might be more familiar with this, if this is just kind of like more along 2C style, but so 2C is of course down a game in this series, so he really needs to win this one in order to force out a game 3. I'm not sure if that has any really like impact on what his routing decisions are in this case.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. We do see a pendant fall from Cold Stare there. And a blue potion, which will be kind of a nice safety for 2C especially. Mm-hmm. But he gets through that Cold Stare fight.
Yeah, no, he did a really excellent job. Master Sword, just basically keeping all of those puffs in line. Not easy, especially on Green Mill.
Yeah, that fight's always a little scary, especially when you don't have the bombos to kind of give you the buffer there with Fire Rod to clean things up. But we are going to see 2C come up and give our first look at the Zora area, now that we finally have the money for that.
Yes. All right. So, okay. Another observation. So Matt. So when he visited Iced Tea, which definitely was not looking at the screen, it was Tracker pointed out that he picked up a 4th Turtle Rock small key. So, so we potentially have some, potential swings here on both sides, so this means a lava chest eventually, when Matt goes over there, it's going to be built to him 2C. Chances are is probably not going to see that chest, like, for the vast duration of the game, if not the entire seed.
Right, yeah, so that Iced Tea is a big old to be determined there, and we're going to see probably the answer to that when we get to Matt checking the lava chest of TR as to whether or not that could be a potential a potential big thing. But given those two the inaccessibility of those two locations, if there is something there, that's going to be quite a while until 2C gets back to that.
Yeah, and honestly, like, just for full clearing Turtle Rock, what are we just missing? We're just missing a big key, surprisingly. It looks like, just based on all the things we've gotten so far, it's like, we're basically just kind of missing like one item for basically, entirely full clearing, like the full dungeon, which is actually quite interesting. Alright, so speaking of though, 2C, with the big key to Hera, they got from Spike Cave, with the small key to Hera that he got from Ice Palace, very natural move to basically come up here and finish up the rest of the mountain.
For sure, and so this Hera Big Chest is another one of those potential swing items here. We're going to see from 2C shortly, and see if that has any implications.
Yeah, and so far, just because no hook shot in sight. Oh, big key. We gotta count this. Well,
assuming
that's so cute.
Assuming that Matt can count his items in Tower of Hera, that will not be something that he misses out on.
Yeah, no, that is certainly true. Of course, 2C, doing a favor, for the viewers and and for us, giving us a really nice, convenient counter checker, so we don't have to necessarily figure that out on our own. Matt picked up a shovel at some point, so we're gonna go check that. I assume 2C also has it.
Yeah, both runners have it. I
oh yeah, that's right. I can definitely see that on the tracker. Matt just decided to come up here a little bit earlier.
But it is just a Skullwood small. We're not going to see much of anything from that for either of our two runners, given that they've both already full cleared Skullwoods.
Yeah, and alright, so Matt, of course, taking that Desert Palace big key, going straight over to clear up the rest of the dungeon. Gonna claim himself yet another, crystal. In this case, you did mention earlier, this is gonna be 5/6 crystal, so we're gonna open up Pyramid Fairy for Matt. Meanwhile, 2C, taking down Moldorm, and claiming his, in this case, next crystal. I'm gonna assume that he's gonna do the basement.
I would think so at this point, but, again, we've talked about how he has been more aggressive with skips, so looks like that's going to be one that he takes a chance on.
Yeah, given that, he decided to kind of wait for the bird to go pick him up, well, we're also going to desert.
Yeah, but he does have, he has other valid options here. He can go finish off desert, which we're going to see Matt do as well. And then he can go kind of right into, say Pyramid Fairy after this. He could even, if he gets lucky and gets a hook shot along the way, he can route in Swamp with that. So he's got some options here as well.
Yeah, and of course, without the hook shot, Matt doesn't really even have an option at this point in order to try and clear out Hera, so it's certainly not going to be on the table for him.
Right. Yeah. Ironically, the basement is the only thing that's accessible to Matt at this point in Hera, which we just saw 2C skip out on. So, not much up there for Matt at the moment until he makes his way back to Spike Cave. Or until he finds hookshot somewhere.
Yeah. And of course, speaking of course, invincibility items, we are still potentially looking for a cape. We did see a mystery small key on the, on Bumper Ledge. Not
key.
really sure if... Oh, was it a big key? Oh, you're right, it was a big key. Yeah. Okay, so that's even more important. Yeah. We certainly still haven't seen like a Swamp Palace big key yet. But given we're still missing a bunch of big keys, I'm gonna assume that the cape's gonna show up sooner rather than later.
Right.
Hopefully sooner.
Yeah, we really only have the Swamp and I think the Ice Palace big keys still outstanding in terms of the non-required class of big keys.
I like how Matt pulled out his fire rod, did all the shots, quick swapped over to bow, and then didn't use a single one and just kept sword spinning. Let's see if 2C can give us a better fight here.
That's my NMG strat as well. Just pull out the bow, but it's more efficient just to not use it. It
just makes you feel psychologically better, right? 2C though looks like alright, so he actually did a really nice job. Landmills look like actually cooperated pretty well for him as well.
It makes me feel more like a Matt or an Aerie or whoever. When I have that bow out during the Landmo fight, even if I'm just going to be shooting 15 arrows into the wall.
The wall needs some love too. It certainly doesn't hurt.
If I just collect a few more arrows, I can defeat it.
Exactly. I mean, there's an upgrade fairy for a reason, right?
Exactly.
All right. So Matt, I was gonna say Matt is here diving into Mire. No really extra equipment. Well, for 2C, just in terms of accessibility, we don't have the Mire big key yet. So presumably this is gonna be kind of retracing some 2C steps. And well, I guess getting basically all the items out minus in this case Vitrias and the big chest.
Yeah, so he's gonna get the same 6 items here from the front. Get his Burna, get another pod small key. But yeah, 2C is gonna come back over here. I'm curious what he left over here.
Oh, looks like he's actually checking the shovel.
Oh, shovel.
Yeah.
So probably doing that into Pyramid Fairy, I would guess. But yeah, the one nice thing here is that we were able to kill Aga 1 here really early in the seed, so that's gonna give us the quicker path to turn in.
Good reminder. That's right. That's actually one of the advantages of killing Agnum is that we do get that really nice portal right outside the castle. Don't have to go mess around with those hammer pegs at all. We're just gonna basically buy the bomb, hop down. 2C, good thing that he found the 300 rupees.
That's the thing that I forgot as well, which is that you need money to do Pyramid Fairy.
Yeah, that's right. We do live in apparently Hyrule is also a capitalistic society. He's not gonna take any hagglers. 100 rupees is an absolute firm price.
Yep. Now, I'm surprised to see 2C coming back up here. This looks like a purple chest play, or else either he's going to go into Thieves Town and clear that here without the small key.
This is actually really interesting. I would assume for Thieves Town he would have just flipped it over to 4, or to 3, and then taken the Dark World portal.
Yeah, the only thing is that I forgot that he came through here and did this route earlier without the mirror, so I didn't think about, K45 being something that he had kind of orphaned a little bit here. But,
and also I think I want to say no hammer as well when he was over here.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
well,
that powder is
that's convenient.
Yeah. So we'll be able to see Magic Bat here for the first time while we're in the area.
Yeah, I was actually wondering, it's like, well, 2C's gonna come over here, with the hammer, and gonna take care of hammer pegs, but now, Magic Bat is somewhat isolated. It's gonna be, a much harder sell for you to come back just for, especially, this check in particular is actually a bit on the longer side with, of course, this cutscene. But, if you just find powder in hammer pegs, you don't have to worry about that.
It's good routing. Just find the items where the things are.
Yeah, that's right, exactly when you need them. Alright, Matt, though, finish up Meyer, in this case, unfortunately did not find the big key just like 2C did, so he's gonna have to leave and come back for another time.
And this may be what you were talking about here with the flute to 3 into the Dark World portal here, and maybe heading into Thieves Town at this point.
Yeah. So Bryce, Matt's kind of already done everything else. He's already done like the purple chest chain. Already cleared out everything basically in front of Skull Woods. Yeah, so presumably this is going to be a Thieves Town clear. So he does have the hammer, which is certainly very nice. Unfortunately, still no small key. So I guess, assuming that small key doesn't really show up, it's probably not going to be any difference. If both Matt and 2C, both kind of leave it.
Right, yeah, I can't see 2C putting off the Thieves clear here too terribly much longer. Waiting on that small key to show up, but that is another potential swing point in this race, along with the some of the other ones that we talked about, where you delay something or you skip something and you kind of wait and see what if one runner is going to get an advantage from one of those items in one of those places. Yeah,
and Bryce, 2C, of course, remembering in this case that there, of course, is that shortcut, just like you mentioned earlier, from the early defeat of Agnes, so don't have to take the long way over. And honestly, like, it doesn't seem, at least for this game, stylistic-wise, in terms of routing, Matt is really just seems to be, like, very focused on dungeons, basically just going from dungeon to dungeon that he can, clear out. 2C seems to be kind of taking a little bit more time, with the overworld chats.
Right, yeah, it's kind of interesting that, some of the skips that we've seen have been 2C skipping... Oh, there's...
Oh, okay. Alright, so this is potentially another swing point. So 2C made the early decision, in this case we just saw from Pyramid Fairy, that small key to Thieves Town is probably going to swing him, right over back, basically exactly where Matt is. The main difference, of course, is that he's going to be able to check the big chest, so if there's something there, that could be a little bit, worrisome for Matt. But of course, we also did see that the Bombos medallion is there, which is, of course, our entry into Turtle Rock itself.
Yeah, and that does kind of raise some danger flags for Matt here. If the hook shot is, say, in Turtle Rock, he's going to be, that Hera Big Key becomes required at that point. Noah's in the Night Cave. So that could be something that delays Matt from getting to that.
That is see this is the type of insight that is actually a really potential point of concern.
So obviously the small key here we could see come into play, but that's going to give 2C access to Turtle Rock much sooner. Until Matt finds some way to clear Hera, he's not going to be able to access that Bombos and get into TR. We did not see, I don't think, anything major from the three items that Matt was able to check there.
Yeah, I think everything that, it was at least in the back of Thieves Town, minus the big chest, of course, the 2C is presumably going to give us a check here for very shortly. Yeah, there was, I think the only thing really here of value in the back was actually just that crystal.
Yep. We did pick up another pod key out of Thieves Town as our...
Oh yeah, that's right. I think it was
one
here.
One of our trackers, Ikea, points out. So that does give him 4, which opens up logically the items and Compass Chest and Dark Basement. But of course, with having 4 small keys, I would expect him to probably, if we make our way back there soon, you see a Helmusar clear, you see the Hammer Yump to clear out Dark Maze and Big Chest, and then one of Harmless Hellway and the Big Key Chest all being accessible now. for our two runners.
Yes, I mean, so like with the so would you? So I know that you mentioned earlier, potentially we would like to combine, Pod Eastern together. Maybe potentially wait for that Eastern Palace big key. Is it worth waiting for if you have this many pod keys? Potentially.
I think in 2C's case, especially, it probably is going to be the next place he goes because he has not dipped Eastern Palace. Matt,
that's true.
Matt did dip Eastern earlier before going into Pod the first time. So, for him, there's a little bit less incentive to rush Pod, given that Eastern is just sitting there with the two big key locked items. No payout there from that Thieves Town small key. We just see 3 bombs there from the big chest. So that's, one thing you're kind of seeing there on Matt's side is that's not going to be something that comes back and bites him.
Yeah, no, that's really going to be, so if you're certainly rooting for Matt, that is certainly one nice piece of relief in order to see that there's going to be nothing required.
And we are seeing Matt make his way back over to here to Pod, so we'll see him clear out all but one item from this dungeon at least, assuming we don't find another small key here, and we'll see him get another dungeon cleared as well.
Yeah, it looks like, though, no indication whether or not this is going to be a crystal or a pendant, but, this is all dungeons, so, Helmasaur is going to have to go down one way or another today. Yeah,
and we only have one pendant left to find out of our 4 unknown dungeons, at least on 2C's side. I actually, it's kind of a thing that I just noticed with the tracker is that I don't think Matt actually checked the bomb shop when he
I think you're right in this case.
So he doesn't even
he just
know
left
that
basically straight. Yeah,
he doesn't know that Desert and Hera are the red crystals. So even if he gets that Hera, gets that Hera big key, gets up there and clears the dungeon, he may not even see or recognize that for a little bit of time.
Of course, why wouldn't there be a bow in Pod? Oh, well then. Well, sorry, so this is going to be, of course, good news for both Matt and 2C. Gonna have silvers at least for the rest of the game. Still being on Master Sword after all this time, I guess for, one advantage is of an early Aga required Dark World is that, you're probably going to just find a Master Sword on the sooner side. On the other hand, you would really like to find that Tempered Sword before Ganon, and they've been on actually Master Sword for quite some time. So, seeing silvers in this case is certainly going to be a nice side relief, at least for phase 4 for Ganon.
That is a good point. We rushed the Master Sword pretty early to get that Aga access, and then it's just been swords are just like, we're just gonna chill in upstairs GT or whatever.
Alright, more money here in Pod. But yeah, so 2C basically coming straight back over here. He's got the big key to Pod. He's got a bunch of small keys. Matt, of course, is just over here ever so slightly faster earlier, but looks like 2C's going to actually go to the back immediately. So it's going to be, so 2C's actually going to claim this crystal. Chances are actually just a little bit before Matt does.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to make a big difference, obviously.
No, totally not.
But it is kind of an interesting thing. One very minor advantage is that Matt's going to have those silver arrows there for the second phase of this Helmasaur fight. So that's going to go.
It's actually a really good point. Well, because it's like, well, okay, 2C is going to be a little bit faster into Helmasaur, given all this. But yeah, 2C is going to spend a little bit more time on phase 2 Helma. So
right, with just Master Sword.
Out there.
Just Master Sword and Hammer as your options there. This is actually a minor time save here in Matt's case for getting back here in this order. So right now, kind of the biggest unknown in terms of the seed is where is that hook shot? Just kind of recapping here, both runners have routed very similarly overall. Probably the biggest kind of point of difference right now is that 2C was able to get to Spike Cave and get the Hera big key out of Spike Cave and clear Hera. We didn't get anything great from upstairs Hera, but what we did get is the second of our 2 red crystals, and that led to the Bombos medallion in Pyramid Fairy. and tears that big key to Swamp. So
that was man, you really, it's like, is that gonna be the big key to Eastern and then 2C's gonna be able to, you know, combo this like super nicely? No, it's just a big key to Swamp. No. It's one of those like tier 3, you know, or whatever you know, it's the lowest tier, you know, big key that you definitely don't want to see.
Right. And again, we have that mystery big key still sitting over on Bumper Ledge.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Now,
yeah, so,
now we're getting one step closer. We know that it's at least logically required to beat the seed. The question is it going to be practically required as well? And unless it's the Ice Palace big key, the answer to that question is going to be yes as well. At this point.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're gonna kind of hope in this case that, you know, like for example, if it's like the Turtle Rock big key, you really hope that the cape's gonna show up somewhere here, not on the mountain or not inside Turtle Rock, because you really don't want to go inside, right? You know, Turtle Rock, find the cape, have to come back all the way down to Bumper Ledge, get the big key, and then go all the way back.
Right, and especially with Matt, you know, being delayed from getting into TR for a while, that would be especially like. Especially feels bad, I think, if that was the case, you know, where he finally, you know, later on gets access to Turtle Rock only to just be able to go up there and double dip it with going in with 4 small keys. That would feel pretty bad.
Yeah, that is true. All right, looks like
we are going to see Matt head in here. This is almost certainly his most dense option left here. Is Hookless Swamp Palace. We'll be able to get the 6 items here out of the front with having that big key now, but we will see what we get out of this exactly.
Yeah, you definitely bring up a very, you know, excellent observation. You know, Matt doesn't probably have much left to do. You know, it's like, you know, of course, you know, we know from his perspective, you know, he can go to Spike Cave and go get the Hera big chest, or Hera big key, right? And then go full clear Hera. But it's only one check, you know, compared to, well, in this case, compared to Swamp Palace, the front of Swamp Palace, which has is certainly a bit more item dense.
Yeah, and not surprising here, you know, given that the options were. For him, you know, go dip. For 2C, we're seeing him dip into Eastern Palace here without the big key. We know that's not going to lead to anything real major for him. But, you know, you think about his options here. He's got the same Hookless Swamp Dive. He's got the big keyless Eastern Palace Dive, and he's got the big keyless TR Dive. So his options aren't amazing either. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him go up to TR after this.
Yeah, no, and that's certainly very reasonable, right? And you know, he's right here, right? Eastern Palace, right after finishing up pods, so it's certainly going to be a very natural place for him to go.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. And of course, picking up the Swamp Palace big key from Helmasaur, Matt's going to be able to, well, at least at the best case, like double dip this. Assuming the hookshot, of course, is not here. He doesn't have to come back for that, for the big chest.
Right.
Yeah, 2C, of course, making his way through Eastern Palace. I think, you know, just kind of confirming what we saw, you know, much earlier on Matt's side. Well, I think it was just a bunch of money, so probably not going to do 2C very good at this moment.
Yep. So we're gonna get the NMG version that Matt is familiar with of the left side swamp experience here.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, so, well, the NMG experience with at least Swamp Palace is that the hookshot is in the big chest, but of course the big key, of course, is on left side. So, but yes, unfortunately, you know, no rando specific diver down techniques here. You know, we do definitely need a small key in order to make all this happen.
One interesting thing to note here, we got the crystal out of pod here. We had map found for Swamp Palace, and that we found that this is a crystal as well. So that means our last pendant is one of either Meyer or TR. We have not seen either of those big keys, but they could certainly show up in you know where.
Though that is a place that, presumably 2C would not like to visit again in this scene, unless, of course, there is something there. But yes, that is also one feature of all Dungeons Key Sanity is that, well, Ganis Tower does require 7 crystals to get in, but there is absolutely nothing stopping from the required big keys for pendant dungeons to be there. Oh my gosh! Speaking of the NMG Swamp Palace experience, we come in here with the big key, it's pretty much already there, but you know what, let's just find the hookshot in Swamp Palace.
Yeah, and that is, I think, a very good news for Matt here. Obviously, he was running low on options before, but that's going to, I think, push him into Tower of Hera and Hookshot Cave here very soon, which will get him back on track to that Bombos and Pyramid Fairy.
Now, of course, it is going to be just a slight more inconvenience for Matt, just because after getting the 5/6 crystal from Hera, he is going to have to go back down the mountain. He still needs a small key.
Yeah.
NMG is not strong enough here in order to, even though we really tried to put.
He knows how to open the big chest and then hook shot to the right. He doesn't know how to.
That is true.
He doesn't know what to do when the big chest is already open.
Alright, well, a weekly later, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. One thing for Matt, though, that we do have to kind of keep in mind is that, like we said, he did not check the bomb shop to get that information on the red crystals. There is our Turtle Rock big key.
That is super nice for Matt.
This is going to work out really nicely for 2C, yeah.
So I want to say that 2C accidentally quick swapped over to Quake. I don't assume that he meant to turn the skeletons into those I don't even know what they're yellow bouncing ball bat things.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, and chat points out here, finding that TR big key there, as well as all 4 small keys being in logic. We know the Bombos. We got Samaria, both rods pretty early. That does kind of heavily point to TR being a clearable crystal and Meyer being that last pendant, just in terms of, how the items get distributed in the seed.
Yeah, so, and of course, another major difference, of course, potentially, probably only advantage for Matt if something is in the vanilla big key chest of Turtle Rock, right? So, when both runners were clearing out Ice Palace, 2C had made a conscious or not conscious decision of skipping Ice Tea, which, of course, did have our 4th Turtle Rock small key. So, of course, 2C, after, finishing up Swamp, he's going to pick up his big key to Turtle Rock, so he's going to be able to clear out and beat Trinex and claim, his next whatever crystal prize. But yeah, if there is something, in the vanilla big key chest, Matt's going to be able to have access to it, whereas 2C is presumably not going to.
Yeah, and if we're correct in assessing that TR is a crystal, that will give 2C GT access when he goes back up the mountain next as well.
Is this? Oh man, this is I don't know. So 2C basically had GT access.
Actually, it'll give both runners. It'll give both runners mountain access or GT access because Matt's going to be able to Hera pot and clear Hera here. So, or actually, no, he's going to have to make another mountain trip though, because he's going to have to come back down and get Bombos. That's right.
Right. Well, so Bombos at least is in Pyramid Fairy, so he's going to have to do that. But yeah, I think after he's going to clear out, after he clears out Turtle Rock, he is also going to have GT access. And I guess, for probably both these runners, they want to be able to find, the big keys to, well, in this case, dependent dungeons, before they have to make the decision of whether or not they want to enter in GT.
And now, having that hookshot in hand, Matt is going to come over here and get his Hera baby in the natural order of things.
Yeah, but at least in this case, he does have the hookshot, so he will be able to Hera pot up to make things a little bit faster.
He will have a slightly quicker Hera experience, unless he chooses to do the basement, in which case he will not. Yeah, for 2C, we're potentially looking at just one more mountain climb for him in the seed. Oh no, 2C did the same thing.
I was actually just watching this, is 2C going to be able to, break out muscle memory and not go to the, so both runners did the same thing, so no time loss given to either of them.
And yeah, in terms of identifying what we're looking for, we have those 3 big keys as the required items. We do know that 1 big key is on top of Bumper Ledge. So Cape is very likely to make an appearance in this one, and the hunt for Cape. And I believe that is information that only Matt has at this point. Is that correct?
No, I think you're right. Just because so 2C, when he ended up clearing out Skull Woods, he did not make any of the North Dark World checks. So no Bumper Ledge Peak and no Graveyard Ledge.
Right.
So yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that is something interesting. You know, Matt may see that Cape show up later on in TR or GT, wherever, and immediately know, hey, that locks a big key. Whereas 2C is going to be like, I'll get back there when I get back for Graveyard Ledge, you know?
Yeah, of course, him finding the Cape could certainly spur him back over there, and, the nice thing about, of course, Bumper Ledge and Graveyard Ledge is that because 2C hadn't checked either, it's at least something that he doesn't have to go and check as, like, a one-off, he can at least have something else to be, to do in combination with.
Yeah, anytime you can kind of put 2 or 3 checks in the same area, it always just feels better psychologically to go back and do those together than doing, just 1 check, especially like a Graveyard Ledge or a Bumper Ledge that takes some time to get to. So.
Alright, almost pretty much dueling crystal catches on both runners' sides. We are making actually some pretty significant progress. So I guess, alright, so gonna be Matt gonna make the decision now whether or not he wants to do Hera Basement. I think this is something also that 2C has skipped. Presumably, actually, at that point, 2C had a multitude of other options for him. Matt, on the other hand, looks like, well, you know what? Never mind. Matt doesn't want to do Hera Basement. Never mind. He wants to go back. Okay.
No, I'm enjoying this. No, just keep narrating this. I'm great. This is great.
I guess Matt was maybe using that as a little bit more thinking time, or maybe just trying to, beat us out. Trying to make a call here.
But yeah, so and kind of assessing the who's in the lead. It does feel like 2C's in the lead. Both runners have the same number of dungeons cleared at this point. Both have the same number of big keys and required go mode items at this point, with the exception that 2C does have the Bombless Medallion to open up Turtle Rock.
Yeah, and
need the Pyramid Fairy to get that.
Yeah, and so maybe that was also something that Matt's like, well, do I do Hera Basement before going to do something else? But Matt actually, so he hasn't been over to Dark Duck Mountain yet, right? So after he got the mitts, he pretty much just stayed basically, south. I
thought he did Super Bunny and First Chest of Height or Hookshot Cave.
Oh no, I think you're right. I was gonna say, so he must know that he needs bombos, right?
Yeah, and we.
Okay. Oh, maybe he's gonna do. Yeah, I was gonna say. Okay, so maybe he's gonna do like the Breast of Hookshot Cave in this case before he leaves and does. Yeah, because right. Another observation, right? I think you mentioned this earlier, is because Matt didn't talk to the bomb shop guy. He doesn't know which 5-6 crystals there are. We know, of course, from 2C side, right? Is that Pyramid Fairy, and it's gonna be Hera and Desert in this case. But Matt presumably doesn't know that.
And that can be a gotcha when you're an hour and a half into a seed, and you get here and all of a sudden there's no green squares on your tracker, or the only green squares that are left are really bad, and you just kind of, because you don't have those red crystals marked, you don't even think about Pyramid Fairy being an option until you kind of just sit there and reason out, okay, what can I potentially do in this situation? So it's, it's gonna be kind of an awareness thing for him on, is he thinking about, hey, in this mode where I don't have the map knowledge going in,
Yeah, it looks like actually with that menu pause, like chances are, he might have been looking to see if he has his.
And I actually just noticed that on his tracker he had just updated Hera to a red crystal.
Nuts.
So,
okay.
He is thinking on those lines. He's not going to get. It looks like he's going to be making a beeline here straight for Pyramid Fairy and get back on the right track. So he'll be.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a couple minutes behind here, but he does have a few advantages. He's been a little bit more thorough, especially with dungeon clearing, even though he hasn't gotten any major advantages out of that yet, other than potentially the 4th TR small key.
Yeah, well, it's right. So right, Matt has a 4th tier small key, which I think is gonna come. Well, we'll see on his side, relatively shortly. In this case, whether or not that actually does hold something. He does have some knowledge advantage over 2C, right? In this case,
and it's not like a knowledge advantage has played a big role in race number 1.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I was gonna say too. Is that that knowledge? Knowledge was actually quite advantageous for Matt in game 1, so potentially it's gonna be something else for game 2.
So Matt's getting his bombos, gonna get his Thieves Town small key here as well, which won't feel great, but we know that that's not gonna be something that hinders him here. Yeah, I expect Matt will be up to TR here very shortly.
Yeah. So speaking of, where's that 3rd sword? We haven't seen a sword upgrade basically since we had to go defeat Aghanim at like, I don't know, 15 minutes or something like that.
Right, yeah. Nope. We've been on our 2 swords for quite some time now.
I'm wondering, if there happens to be, let's say, like a 3rd sword in, lava chest in this case, right? That actually could be a pretty big swing, for Matt. Well, I mean, we don't really know where the 4th sword is, but, if that's the only sword that kind of shows up for the rest of the game, it's not like 2C, still can't finish the seed, but, having a Master Sword versus Temper Sword difference, especially for, like, Ganon, right, the rest of GT, well, it certainly could make, a difference in terms of execution time.
Yeah, that's certainly a non-zero chance that could come into play if it's a sword there. And yeah, like we're seeing point out in chat, 2C coming in with 3 small keys for Turtle Rock has to skip the lava chest here or risk isolating that 4th TR small key for clearing the dungeon. So that's going to be one thing that when Matt gets in here and gets over to lava chest, we're going to be watching with a lot of interest there.
Yeah, of course, right. And just as a reminder for those of you who may not have caught kind of like the early to mid game, was the 4th Turtle Rock small key was in. Okay, so that's one big key that's absolutely required in Mimic Cave, Big Cave Eastern, so that's probably going to be one of 2C's next stops. But yeah, the 4th Turtle Rock small key was actually in Ice Palace Ice Tea chest. 2C, when he went in, consciously or not, decided to skip that chest. Matt, being more thorough, in his ways, has picked it up.
You love seeing the mushroom
yes.
in the GT big chest, especially when you're in potential GT mode and up on the mountain. You love seeing that mushroom to really make you think, oh, well, let's just go back down and do that again.
Now, I guess, since you're up here, that's a very convenient compass to Turtle Rock and be able to let us count for the rest of the dungeon. But so I guess, if you're up here after beating Trinex, are you going into? Oh, okay, so assuming Turtle Rock is our crystal, are you going into GT?
Yes, absolutely.
Or are you waiting? Okay.
Yeah, no, you're 2 big keys from Go mode, and you have it in a way. It's sort of, there's a little bit of advantage disadvantage to just going into GT and clearing it without the big key, because you're not going to get I don't know. Maybe not advantage is not the right word there, but you don't feel committed to climbing and skipping anything here if you can get in there. I don't know what else 2C would do in this situation other than go to GT if this is a crystal. Because, you're not going to go back down and do an extra mountain climb just to clear 2 checks out of Eastern Palace first, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe technically 3, because it is the green pendant for what it's worth, but yeah,
True.
I definitely understand, yes. But it's 3 versus, whatever, 27 or 26 or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, even 22 without the GT Big Key is still...
Yeah, that's right, we don't have the GT Big Key, that's right. All right, Matt is okay. So 2C coming up here, on Trinex. He's still on Master Sword, unfortunately, but he is, of course, more than capable of doing this. We are eagerly awaiting to see what is in this chest right here, coming up on Matt's side. Is this going to be a game changer?
It is.
All right. Small key. Actually, I'm trying to think if there was a small key that we actually needed at some point. If that was
I think
actually
we are done
something.
with small keys at this point, being relevant. We've gotten Hera, Desert, Swamp. I guess I mean, you know, like there's one more pod small key that.
Oh
that
yeah,
could come into
true.
play, but that's really about it at this point.
Yeah, I was also gonna say, so that was an Ice Palace small key, right? So we found Turtle Rock small key, like the 4th one in Ice Palace. Like, that's kind of mean, in my opinion.
So you know, we mentioned earlier, and I think you brought up the scenario of what if you have to double dip the mountain here, you know, get like cape out of TR and then go. As we see the
we see the last pod small key. Oh man. Well,
you did mention the scenario of what if we have like cape and TR for TR big key on Bumper Ledge. The same could very much be true of this being a forced double dip here of GT.
Oh my gosh, dude, that would be even harsher.
Yeah.
Wait, was that a crystal? Sorry,
it was indeed a crystal.
All
so
right,
we are at 7 crystals. 2C just looking for Meyer and GT big keys at this point. Actually, both runners now, with Matt picking up his Eastern big key as well from Mimic Cave.
Mm-hmm.
Both runners now just looking for those 2 big keys. And the one kind of differentiator here, other than just, you know, kind of progression in the seed at this point, in terms of knowledge and item availability, Matt does know that there is a big key on Bumper Ledge. 2C does not have that information.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a 2 in 3 chance of that big key being one of the required big keys.
Yeah,
remaining
and
that we're...
and well, actually, yeah, well, maybe potentially a cape. I think maybe 2C feels hopefully a little bit more comfortable, you know, going into, you know, exploring, you know, GT in this case. Whereas
I think being go -2 feels a little bit less scary than go -1 coming into GT basement.
Yeah.
You know, given the outcome of yesterday's race as well. I don't think 2C is someone that, you know, gets like rattled easily by, you know, one check out and he's going to wildly adjust. Hey,
look at that tempered sword. Oh, big key too.
There's a GT big key.
Okay, all right. So just like you know, just like normal GT routing, you know, do hope room first. You know, you get us, and then you can go straight over to compass chest. And hey, not only is there a sword for us, there is the big key.
Yeah. So I didn't see any 6s in chat, but
So yeah, so actually it looks like 2C is gonna finish up at least clearing out the rest of the basement. I'm hoping maybe to find one more big key. I don't know, like, is this, would you just climb at this point if you think you're...
Oh jeez.
It's hard, right? Like,
I think he's making the right play here and clearing this out, because you were still, you know, you still, you know, are an item from go mode here. And if you don't do left side at this point, you're leaving 15 items for a while. So you're gonna do...
I guess you wouldn't come back here, right?
Right, you're gonna go clear Eastern, and then you kind of obligated yourself into... Like, if you skip left side at this point, you're kind of obligating yourself to go do everything but that, versus going and doing another mountain climb to get back up here, right?
Yeah, and especially, you know, for a place like GT, you know, there is no shortcut to come back here. Like, you have to go around the long way.
And 2C's remaining options are like kind of crappy. He's got like Iced Tea. He's got Hera Basement.
That's right.
He's got, you know, not a lot of things left to do in the game. That aren't really gross. He's got like Graveyard Ledge. You know, there's not a lot of, you know, fun places to go here. So I think the taking the 10 or so items here from left side, you know, you get the big chest checked. I think this is the right play.
Yeah, looks like though at least it's gonna be, you know, so pretty even up here. Matt also claiming his 7th crystal from Eternal Rock. He is also going to dive into a GT looking for his remaining big keys.
And one thing that, you know, we haven't talked about is we still got a couple of little fetch quests outstanding. Speaking of fetch quests.
Speaking of, alright, so that cave is so that's GT Big Chest. And of course, when Matt's gonna come up, we did see 2C picking up this earlier. GT Biggie in Compass Room. Matt, well, I don't know if he's more incentivized to check in this case a bumper ledge immediately. 2C does now have the option, right? But again, like, he doesn't have the knowledge that Matt does.
I feel like it would be very aggressive play. I don't think we're going to see a situation where. Ooh, I mean, I see.
Yeah, that was actually a really nice recovery here on Ice Armos.
Conflicting opinion from Schultzer, who I certainly respect opinions on. For me, I think with Matt, if I'm in Matt's shoes there and I get that cape, I'm still checking. Bob's Chest, Ice Armos there, then gambling on a 50-50, I mean, I guess it's better than a 50-50 because you could find the big key up on the climb as well, but I don't see him skipping those 4 remaining chests at the back of the basement there on Pun getting that cape. I could be wrong.
And no, I mean, I think that's actually pretty consistent with how Matt's been kind of playing, not only for this game, but somewhat, throughout the tournament. We haven't really seen him skip anything major, once he's kind of been in an area, right? So when he enters something, doesn't matter if it's like Small Palace or Skull, GT in this case, he's going to be able to get everything he gets his hands on.
Yeah. And 2C
maybe
is
not
climbing
tile room,
here.
Right?
Yeah. 2C is climbing here without doing tile room as well. 2C obviously also, going to be one item from Go mode here, but does not have the information of the potential of the 50-50 we're discussing here with the big key that is sitting out on Bumper Ledge. So, whether or not that cape incentivizes him to get back over there after this, if we don't find the Meyer big key, here on the climb or in Eastern Palace. Whether that, is kind of the motivating factor to get him back over there, we'll see. But still a lot of unknowns here.
Yeah, I mean, right. So I guess we as viewers, I think, can take solace in that cape is, is required logically speaking, right? Just because we do need that big key in order to finish either, of course, Maya or Ice Palace. But yeah, practically speaking, right, it is going to be a 50-50 shot. Because we're definitely not going to. Well, both runners have already cleared out Ice Palace, right? And already claimed their pendant, so no reason to go back there.
Yeah, unless we find the Ice Palace big key.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Oh.
But yeah, at this point it's a pretty well equipped climb for 2C.
Yeah,
here.
that
Temper Sword in the basement, doing nice work.
Yeah, that Temper Sword, is actually, really nice to be able to see, of course, with those silvers that we ended up picking up from the Pod Rupee basement. These guys are, pretty much set, in terms of execution. They were doing, a phenomenal job, of course, just with Master Sword and all that, but, why play with Master Sword when you can just get tempered?
Yeah, other than a slightly scary Cold Stare fight, I don't think there were a lot of execution challenges in this seed. But there's a half magic just to make things a little nicer.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so I think at this point we're all set. Half magic came just slightly later, maybe. We can't necessarily spam like the Fire Rod in GT Gauntlet, but it's certainly gonna make at least like magic management pretty easy for the rest of the game.
Right. Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of magic requiring bosses left at this point. Yeah. We're probably gonna see silvers used on Vitreous whenever we get there, but it's still you're never gonna complain about half magic as a runner.
Yeah. Yeah, 2C, it looks like he was kind of in danger of getting knocked off there by Moldorm, but...
Yeah, that was not the, I don't know, the textbook, trip across the corner of the gap there, but stayed up on the ledge.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's all that matters. He was not down. He didn't have to fall or anything, so that's definitely a victory in and itself.
As my friend Pix says, anyone you walk away from is
that's true.
is a good Moldorm fight, I think. And yeah, kind of speculating on what the options are here. I think you're almost 100% going to see 2C go directly to Eastern Palace here and clear that off.
Yeah. Certainly
you'll see Matt do the same here after he completes his climb. But then the question is, what are the options at that point. And I think Chad is kind of correctly predicting that unless we get something that takes us in a different direction, doing bumper ledge paired with graveyard ledge for 2C is going to be probably the most appealing option.
Yeah, right, and it kind of depends on, yet again, right, like we can't, accurately predict necessarily what 2C is going to do. He does probably have more incentive potentially to go check Cape and graveyard ledge and bumper ledge, just because we did get the Cape in GT. It is potentially one of those like farther out sphere checks, right, that he hasn't really done, so also potentially another option available to him.
But you think about, the things that 2C has remaining. They're either, things that he's skipped intentionally that he is not going to want to come back to. So, your Hero Basement, your Iced Tea, those kind of chests. Or they're the same things that Matt has outstanding. So things like the Mushroom.
The Mushroom! I forgot about the Mushroom!
Those are things that, both runners have, had made available to them recently. But neither of them are going to, immediately jump at those options, right? So, if you're searching for ways to get Matt back into this race, it may take a little bit of a kind of an off-kilter play like that of, go pull this off a Mushroom earlier, but, with Matt having that knowledge of bumper ledge, he's going to be going straight there. And unless we see the Ice Palace big key there, he's gonna.
No one's gonna be happy seeing the Ice Palace big key. I think, especially if so I guess it would be good if, I guess if the Meyer big key is locked behind Ice Palace. I'm not even sure if that's possible. Yeah. But I guess I was gonna say though, for what it's worth though, because we do have the flute, and a mushroom turn-in is actually it's not slow per se, right? It could just be a very quick flute over to spot 2, and then turn it in. So I guess I certainly would not think that it's unreasonable for 2C to do that before he goes to bumper ledge.
That's a good point. It's not an unreasonable play, certainly. I think seeing something like going back into one of the dungeons that he skipped for an item that he skipped, it would be a much more surprising play at this point, versus I think you kind of touched on this a lot earlier, as we see Gold Sword there on Armos.
Alright, well, I guess we weren't going to get those swords anytime soon. So in terms of just logic, right, I think the sword, if you need a Master Sword for active access, the sword will actually go place those 2. Everything else is just kind of, there, and, well, one is in GT and one is on Armos, which we definitely weren't going to get that key, the key anytime soon.
Right. So we'll see the green pendant check here from Sahasrara, and then we'll figure out what direction 2C is going to go. That knowledge not going to be particularly helpful at this point, as Matt wraps up his Agatu fight.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly very nice execution, from both these runners in GT. Certainly, very expected of runners of this caliber.
Yeah.
Alright, so it looks like 2C is gonna first check the mushroom, very quick spot over. Let's see what the mushroom turns into. It is, I don't even know if I would have held the down button, immediately just expecting it to be nothing, but this case in 2C noped out of there so fast.
Yeah, no, it's just a 20% off coupon there at the potion shop, but not really anything either runner is going to concern themselves with. It does look like 2C is heading up here to this portal, and it's going to see that big key up on bumper ledge here. So we're going to find out. So it looks like right now, at least, when after the dust is, kind of settled, Matt is basically one very short Eastern Palace behind 2C. 2C is basically just going to beat Matt slightly, potentially faster in order to check out what this big key is, barring any execution or, ambushes here from the enemies. Yeah, and it's not going to be a big swing the race time save, but if this is the key over here, Matt's going to have that information a little bit sooner. But 2C will be just in go mode with just a mire to clear versus Matt having to do 2 dungeons in go mode. So
that's true.
Let's see.
All right, which key is this? Oh my gosh, dude.
The Ice Palace big key.
We are. Thank you, game. This is
Well,
well, I mean, so yeah, I was gonna say, I think if you're fans of Matt, I mean, this is actually gonna be good because everyone's gonna be basically keep looking, and you know, because of Matt's thoroughness, he doesn't have these kind of like one-off checks that potentially actually could lure 2C back, right? Hera Basement.
One thing though is that, you know, one of 2C's one-offs is Iced Tea Chest. So he could see that big key show up and be like, well, that's now my densest option.
Oh, dude, you're right. Oh my gosh. The little choices, you know, and it's a potential major repercussions down the road an hour later.
Right.
Oh my gosh. And yeah, of course, you know what? Look at this. Well, 2C is basically, I don't know if he necessarily heard you, but he is diving straight back into Ice Palace.
Yeah, he just doesn't have any other. He doesn't have other real options at this point. He's got 2 tile rooms to choose from. He's got a pod big key chest.
Oh yeah, that's true. You know, we did find, I think it looks like actually according to Philly and tracking for 2C, we have all 6 pod keys on his side. So yes.
Now, yeah.
That is another option.
Chat pointing out here that if we don't find the Myra big key here in Ice Palace, the Turtle Rock small key that 2C is gonna get from Ice Tea Chest here, that's gonna feel mighty scary for him if he's, you know, down to a 1 and 2, 1 and 3 of that TR big chest or big key chest being important here.
Oh man, that's hopefully this is not going to, I guess, like spurt off too much mental concern here for 2C. Alright, meanwhile though, Matt, you know, of course, well, he doesn't quite have Gold Sword quite yet. We're gonna get that off of Armo soon, but of course, you know, Matt just blazing through here, the back of Eastern Palace. He, of course, already picked up his Big Key Ice Palace. He is really hoping, of course, that Armos or the Green Pen is gonna turn into Mystery Mire Big Key. Otherwise, he's gonna have to be facing with also some pretty unfortunate, you know, unpalatable choices here as well.
And that Ice Palace big key, all it was required for was our boots that we started the seed with. So we're looking. I think at this point it's either it has to be pod big key chest or GT tile room or something extending from those, like a book.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you know, we were talking about so early. It's like, you know what is going to be our Desert Palace access today? Is it going to be the book, or is it going to be Mitts plus Flute plus Mirror? And you know what? After all this time, almost 2 hours into the seed, we don't have the book. That's going to be another sort of fun checks if we have to go and, you know, hunt down all of our tablets again.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you always love, as a runner, having your race come down at the very end to a coin flip between do I go check Ether Tablet or Bombo's Tablet, right?
Yes.
Yeah, nothing feels better.
You know, the seed starting out is so promising, right? In terms of like, oh man, which ice rod, you know, like how many ice rods are gonna have such for day? Well, we found ice rod itself pretty early. We found both Castle Tower small keys. We found so many medallions that we needed. It still looks like it's gonna come down to a, you know, big key hunt in the form of Mire.
Yep, and it looks like Matt is going to make the play here to check Ice Palace Big Chest as well.
All right. And I think this is very reasonable, even though it's not as quote unquote item dense, you know, as it was for 2C, right? We did find the cape in GT, the cape locked a big key, and this is very, you know, likely in this case for Matt's.
I think we may have kind of. Oh, there's. Oh no! Game. No.
Oh, dude. All right. So the content continues for both our runners. 2C has found using, you know, all 6 pod keys, has found the book. So which tablet are you checking first?
I think you go Bombos here first, and it looks like what he's doing, because in 2C's case, everything else that you have in the game is up on the mountain at this point, right? You've got
that's true. Yeah.
You've got Hera Basement, you've got GT Tile Room, you've got TR Big Key Chest, and you've got Ether Tablet. So everything is up there at this point. So you get this done, you go up there, and then you find your go mode one way or another on top of the mountain.
Yeah, no, that's actually certainly very, you know, good points. Even though none of the options on the mountains are terribly appealing, but yeah, like we can definitely at least combo it some.
Yeah,
as
not
efficient
appealing,
as you
but
can.
they're at least all in the same place. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just that every single individual check is going to be like a minute, right, or something like that. So let's just gonna So all right, what is on Bombo's tablet today? It's not here.
It's not here.
It's not here. Of course, it's not here. You know, why would it be here?
Why would it be? Why would it be anywhere?
Alright, Matt, picking up his boots at the 1 hour 50 mark. Yeah, thank you, starting boots. It is certainly we really much appreciate being able to go fast, because we probably would have picked this up at least 2 hours in or something like that if we could do that.
Indeed. That's all of this said. The window of opportunity for Matt feels very limited at this point, because he's going to go in. We know it's either going to be, I think, Ether Tablet or GT Tile Room at this point. But Matt's not going to be motivated to go up there any sooner. He's going to make probably the same play here with Bombo's tablet up into the mountain.
Oh, I see.
But, yeah, I just don't see a situation. And there's the Meyer Big Key on Ether Tablet. So,
all right.
2C in go mode here at just past an hour 51 minutes. Matt going to get his book from Pod here, and then be right back on track here, but it's just going to be, I think, a little bit too late in this one, barring something really kind of unexpected happening.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, like, this seed was, in terms of like decisions, you know, actually I would say that both runners made some very, very reasonable ones. In this case, it just happens to be, I think, I think partly due to Matt's thoroughness checking, in this case, like Hera Basin, for example, right? It's just going to be some of the longer checks that will basically just ended up, you know, kind of eating away at some of his progression time. Right,
yeah, there's going to be, you know, a couple minutes saved. You know, you think about Hera Basement, you know, not just the time saved in, you know, say skipping Iced Tea, but 2C also got kind of an unintentional advantage there of skipping Lava Chest and TR, right?
Oh, so yeah, that's true. That is true.
That's another 15-20 seconds that you add on top of the time of that first check that 2C got to skip there. You know, just kind of worked out today in his favor that the things that he got to skip, you know, none of them he got punished for. And yeah, and of course, you know, so you know, both Matt and 2C, you know, of course, you know, chasing the most, you know, whatever, like the farthest along sphere. So yes, Matt's gonna get, I don't know, something I was gonna be slightly disappointed, you know, with Bombo's tablet check, but he's at least gonna get to his Meyer Big Key relatively shortly. But yeah, I think in this case, like probably barring some, you know, catastrophes, you know, on 2C's side, of course, looks like, you know, we might be looking at a potential game 3 here. I don't have any inside info yet as to when they might be playing a game 3, but hopefully in the interview after the fact here. We can
certainly. Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to talk to both of these guys and you know, kind of see like what their situation is. 2C, you know, taking advantage of that gold sword and cape. Want to save some of his silver arrows because potentially just for the Ganon fight. Yeah, very, very fast Vitreous kill here.
And you know, if anyone's kind of curious about the bracket situation, the winner of this round will face in the quarterfinals one of Vextifer, Allison, Tam, or Mughal-Charm.
Okay.
Because these guys are speedrunning their speedruns through the brackets.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, a reminder, of course, that this is so I think officially from like the turnovers perspective, the round of 32 officially starts today, or maybe it was like tomorrow or something like that. Basically this week. Yeah, 2C and Matt. Not only are they on, you know, past the round of 32, they already defeated their first round opponents. They're already, you know, facing each other here in the round of 16. Right. Matt claimed his big key to Meyer, you know, from Bombo's tablet, you know, at least, you know, making, in this case, like the correct calls to do the tablets first before, you know, doing pretty much anything else that's less palatable. Matt's going to be able to just go straight to the back. He also looks like it is a very similar situation arrow-wise, so I certainly would not be surprised if he decides to, you know, kind of do something similar. Maybe some, you know, NMG-esque type of strats, so a couple sword spins, since he's quite accustomed to that with the gold sword, as opposed to using like silvers.
Skipping the 5 arrows there on the way through Meyer Lobby, though.
Yeah, you can definitely see some of the NMG execution paying off here.
Meanwhile, 2C taking down his Ganon there. holding his sword up, will cross the bridge here and finish in first place. Get your GGs in chat.
Yeah, no, this was, you know, for everything that the seed has asked you to do in this case, you know, sub 2 hours was, I would say, quite the impressive time. Both Matt and TC are going to finish pretty much, you know, under the 2 hour mark. But certainly, yeah, get your G's out in chat for 2C. Going to force a game 3 here very shortly.
Not quite the 140 and 138 times of yesterday's race, but still definitely a fast time for an AD keys race. And yeah, Matt here finishing up as we are joined in the chat.
Hello.
By our winner today.
Hello. Yeah, hello 2C. GG's.
I was trying to pull it up just to make sure that it was who I thought it was. Congratulations 2C. GG.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a nice mire, Vicky. That's for sure.
Right? Yeah. It was one of the interesting things that we got to see there was that, you know, as things kind of whittled their way down in the seed, was that we had seen that big key on bumper ledge from Matt much earlier in the seed, and you know, we knew that you did not have that knowledge, you know, when you were up there in TR and GT. But when we saw that cape pop up there in the GT big chest, that certainly felt like,
Yeah. To be honest, I make this mistake so many times. I never check bumper. But yeah, when I saw the big key, I was a little bit worried, not gonna lie. But when I saw that it was Ice Palace, then it felt much better, for sure. Honestly though, the MVP in the end was definitely the TR small key in Ice Palace. That prevented me from doing a lot of other stuff, and then I just went straight to bot.
Yeah, we mentioned that kind of as, you know, you got away with a couple of little skips in dungeons today. You know, Hera Basement was one that didn't get you, and that Ice T one actually, I think, kind of saved you some extra time in the end by being able to skip Lava Chest as well when you were in there.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know.
Matt finishing up on his side as well, so get your GGs in chat for him. Gonna finish just about 2 minutes here behind 2C. Very similar, a similar finish to yesterday, and in fact, with about the same margin, just with the two runners reversed.
Yeah. Although a little bit longer, probably like overall time than I guess the last seed. Yeah, it looks like we are also joined here by Matt. GG's.
Hey, GG's.
GG, Matt.
GG's, dude.
So how about that Meyer big key?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, dude.
Yeah. Well, I obviously have no idea what happened, but like you could have gotten that a long time ago before I got it.
You both got it. You both got that Meyer big key at about the same time. Actually, well, not about the same time, but about the margin of victory, same time, I guess. Kind of the biggest, I think, sort of play in this one. It got pointed out in chat there at the end. Was when kind of earlier in the seed, 2C, you decided to dip into Misery Mire. And you got the Cane of Burna out of there, which at the time did not feel like much, but it lets you, when you came back up the mountain after that, clear Spike Cave out for the Hera Big Key.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah.
There we go. Shout out to Burna.
Yeah. So getting that big key, of course, gave you access to the second of your 2 red crystals that gated the Bombos for TR. So you had that much earlier in the seed, and were kind of able to follow the path through the seed of, you know, getting the Swamp Palace, getting Hookshot and TR Big there, and then kind of getting up and clearing the mountain all in one go, whereas Matt had to make a couple extra trips back up there due to not being able to do Spike Cave the first time and not having Hookshot.
Yeah, I don't know, I felt extremely behind overall. When I saw the mirror in Skull Woods, I realized that it could have been way more efficient if I went to Skull Woods immediately in the Dark World.
Yeah, that that was an unfortunate situation for you, but also in a way it was good for you in that you had done the mirrorless smith before that, so you got that flute. You weren't you know there was a more efficient way, but you at least weren't you didn't isolate that flute there for a long time. We did see Matt take the route that you're kind of suggesting there with the Skullwoods first and then south route, and so that gave him a little bit more efficiency there in the Dark World. But the big thing was getting that you had the information from talking to the bomb shop and getting the Pyramid Fury information, and then being able to get into and clear Hera a lot sooner, I think made the big difference for you there.
Was a swamp a little bit of a big play as well, or not? Because I figured that TR probably was a little bit better.
It was definitely a big play for you. I think in Matt's situation, at the point that he went into Hookless Swamp, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think your options there were basically Swamp or Spike Cave at that point.
And Hera Basement.
And Hera Basement, yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Not, I think for Matt, that was a very, this play makes complete and total sense. Where with you had the options of you could dive the Eastern Palace without the big key, you could dive TR without the big key, or you could go into Swamp without the hook shot. So you had kind of 3 equally unpleasant options there. And obviously you did Eastern Palace into Swamp there, and it worked out pretty well for you.
Yeah, it was one of those. I felt extremely behind, as I said, in the early Dark World. It was not that great. Even Meyer, you said Birna also led me to something good, but honestly, I didn't really realize that Birna was such a big thing. So even Meyer felt kind of bad in a way.
Right.
So I was confident about 40 minutes into the seed. I'm gonna go to Swamp at one point when I don't have any decent options. I don't really care. I'm just gonna make this play because. I feel like I need to do something.
Yeah, that's interesting to kind of hear that mindset, because obviously from our perspective with the shared information, it felt like you were slightly ahead for a lot of the seed. Matt, I'm kind of curious about your mindset. Where was your head at in terms of where am I in this race? What was your thinking there?
I don't know. I feel like I'm not the most experienced AD keys player, and one thing I've found in this tournament is that I don't really know where I'm at. The seed was kind of trash. The Bombos location really sucked. When I got that, I was feeling kind of bad because I was very aware of the Birna in Meyer and that I had not gone to Spike Cave, and I was going to go to Spike Cave in sequence break in my first trip up the mountain, but I got Ice Palace access, and I didn't want to waste my potion because I had a tough cold stare fight coming up. And so when I finish Swamp, I get the hook shot and I get the TR big and I beat Swamp, but that opens nothing, right? I still have that. I still have to go to Spike Cave / Hera Basement, and I guess I have Hookshot Cave now. But when Bombos wasn't on the mountain, because I was like, okay, this is good. If Bombos is on the mountain, I will be fine. But then it both had to be, the Hera was the other 5/6, because I didn't know that at the time, and Bombos had to be in the in Pyramid Fury. It's funny, because the first chest I opened up was the Thieves Small, and I was like, oh, no, don't be that. And then at least the second one was Bombos. But at that time, I was like, damn, even though I pulled the hook shot out of Swamp and I chose Swamp over Hera Basement and Spike Cave, at that point I knew I would have actually been better off going to Hera Basement and Spike Cave first. Right? Because that costs a lot of time.
That's interesting. Yeah, no, that's a fair point.
And so up to that point, I felt really bad about going to Eastern before Pod. It's just that I had no bow, I had no potion, and I didn't want to mimic clip, and I only had 1 pod key. And so if I go into Eastern, I just find a pod key, I get 5 more checks. But it just turned out that mitts were in pod, and so I basically last location those. So that felt kind of bad. And
and
I
Chad
was
actually
happy.
pointed that out, was that if there's a pod key sitting in Eastern, this is going to feel this is going to work out really nicely for you, but unfortunately it just didn't pay out.
No, and I avoided the mire dip, but then I just ended up having to do it again. And if I actually had have just sacked up and sequence broke Spike Cave and not gone into ice with a potion, this race probably would have a different outcome, but that was it. And then going into GT, it was so weird because GT wasn't even in logic at that time. And like I found the cape obviously in the big chest, and I was like, well, do I take the 50-50 or not? Mind you, going to Ice Armos really isn't that much of a play, and then you go there and of course it's the ice big and it's like, crap. And like in my mind, based on where the Hera big was, you could have gotten to Thieves with the Thieves Small for sure. And Pod was the 50-50 that I'm assuming most people wouldn't take. So Ice obviously is probably where you're going to go. And then I went to Pod next. So that was kind of the sequence there.
Yeah, and your read was correct in that 2C actually did get to do the back of Pod in one go with the small key in hand, and checked the big chest there on his first trip, or in his first time in the back there. So yeah, your read was correct there, and that you were playing to what gave you the best shot there at the end. And unfortunately for you, it kind of turned out that it was the same options that gave 2C the best chance as well, and that he also with isolating Ice-T, it made sense for him to go straight back to Ice Palace as well.
Yeah, like I could have just gone on the portal and gone to Pod Eastern at the same time, but I don't know. That seems like kind of excessive when
that was probably your only Eastern out there at the end, but it would have been a pretty wild swing to go for.
Yep. So it's kind of funny. Two things. We had the same reaction with the Ice Palace big key, but you had it a little bit later once you grabbed it. For me, it was when I saw the big key. I had the reaction of, oh no, it's a big key. I didn't know about that. But second of all, in both of our seats, our Castle Tower smalls were so nice.
Oh yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, you had that 15-20 minute Castle Tower access here, and the seed was just screaming to go there, so that plus that one pod small key got you to those mitts. Both of you pretty early. Obviously 2C got there a little bit earlier without the Eastern dip, but it was still, you're never going to complain in an AD seed about getting to clear Castle Tower as your first dungeon.
Yeah, the seed looked like it was actually going to start so nicely too, right? Both Castle Tower small keys, actual Ice Rod. We got 2 medallions basically like straight off the bat, and it's like, oh man, this could be actually really nice. And then, it's probably wouldn't necessarily have happened, but it's like again, Pod, harmless Hellway, or vanilla big key chest, right, for your check, with the extra key, and it's like, well. It just happens to be in this case that both of you, didn't check, ended up getting the book that's the last item in Pod, right, as opposed to something much earlier.
Right. So yeah, obviously the outcome today is going to force a game 3. We're all going to be very hyped for that. Do you guys, have you discussed yet when that might happen?
Yeah, Doozy, do you want to play today? Like the same time we played yesterday, but today?
Sure. Why not?
Okay, so it's like in 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yeah. Live scheduling on stream? Oh, this is getting pretty exciting.
I need to get this series over with very soon, unfortunately. So if you could do that, that would be nice.
Yeah, that sounds good. And of course, do I have to ask? Boots?
No, you don't have to ask. Yeah.
All right.
I'll put it on the schedule when we're done this.
All right.
You guys don't want to run the risk of getting your boots from Ice Palace Big Chest at an hour 50?
I was gonna say
that was a kick in the nuts right there.
All right. Well, we will look forward to seeing that race on the schedule tomorrow. One of you two guys.
Today.
I think
today. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, like in 2.5 hours, basically.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, heck yeah. We'll definitely be excited to watch for that. One of these two guys is going to clinch their ticket into the quarterfinals before most of the field has run their first race of the round of 32. But that's always exciting. Get a little break and wait to see who your opponent's going to be.
Yes, or a permanent break.
or a much longer break. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so someone's going to earn some freedom, from this. But certainly, very hopeful that. Well, best of luck, of course, to the both of you. Because I mean, so both these games actually have been really exciting to watch. Certainly, high expectations for Game 3.
Thank you. Definitely looking forward to Game 3. Close races indeed. Even in ladder, we had close races, so
Yeah, it's true.
it's been fun for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you for commentating and restreaming.
Indeed. Thank you to our restreamer Siberion and to our 2 trackers today, Ikir and Philisty, both doing an excellent job of keeping me and Clear Mouse straight, because someone has to.
Our trackers, Iker and Philly, amazing job. For both of them. It's just,
For sure.
Thank you so much.
And great job to our runners. We will look forward to seeing that Game 3 here coming up later this afternoon or evening, depending on your time zone.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you again for letting us restream you. It's always been a pleasure.
Indeed. Clear Mouse, any final thoughts?
No, I'm good. Thank you so much, Will, for agreeing to commentate this. This was actually a lot of fun. Very exciting race, and certainly I think a good time all around.
Absolutely. I'm glad we finally got to do this. Hopefully we'll get to do it again sometime soon. And Siberion, if you want to wrap us up, we can throw it back over to you.
Sure. So before we finish this, quick heads up on what's next up here on ZSR. At 3 p.m. EDT, we are going to have the Minish Cap Randomizer weekly race. At 4 p.m. EDT, Zelda 2 Randomizer Max Render Tournament race. Let me check. This should be the same time the random match from Matt and 2C is scheduled. 4 p.m. EDT. And not sure if we have a commentator and tracking crew on such a short notice. But we also have Majora's Mask Randomizer Co-op Tournament race at 8 p.m. EDT. Schedule. Also, make sure to check our schedule for more Zelda content. And see you next time here on ZSR.